Hey, you guys! Hope everybody's doing great. What screen in the world is this sharing? I have no idea why this is on. This is not the right screen. I swear, I bet you it's again with Microsoft Windows has decided to rename my screen. They're the wrong thing. Makes no sense. All I did was I clicked source in OBS. If you know OBS, clicking a source, I didn't click the little eyeball to make it visible. I just clicked the source. It's like it updated and switched to the right screen. Anyway, hope you're all doing great this evening. We're going to do this weekend roundup, weekly roundup. Kind of a quick lickety split like. I have two. Tonight is a double feature. I missed last week. Sometimes I'm just too busy. Technically tonight, I'm too busy. I want to watch the Copa America, but it's not going to start until 9:15. So we have a little bit of time. Realistically, I can watch kickoff on my phone while talking to you, and then transition out of here around. We may do 2 lessons in 30 minutes. So like I said, I'm going to try to get to it now and push through. Usually I go about half an hour for each lesson, but I think 15 minutes is going to be sufficient. And I'm going to tell you, viewer metrics are telling me that 15 minutes is just about right. So let's do it. Let's get into it and not ask any questions. It's a little spicy vocabulary. If you're not following the stream, please do follow. I do these weekly roundups generally every Sunday night between 8:30 and 9. Just depends on when my girls go to bed. I have 3 daughters, all under the age of 10, youngest 11 months. So we stay busy parenting. And then I teach a lot of classes and I write a lot of classes throughout the week. This is extra icing on the cake for a lot of my students. I send these out within our English club, English at the Ready. I'll talk about that at the end of the stream for a little bit, but let's do this. Weekly roundup, home and decor. So the two words that we juxtaposed this week, and I've said before that when you juxtapose something, you put them side by side and you think about them comparatively. Juxtapose, decorate, and furnish. How are these different? Because they kind of sound the same. To decorate, it's a verb. It involves adding aesthetic elements to a place to enhance its appearance. Again, aesthetic, aesthetic. Some people say aesthetic, aesthetic, aesthetic elements to a space to enhance its appearance. Aesthetic elements are beautiful elements. They make it look nicer in some way. Like my light back here. It's a fireplace, but it's broken. It doesn't work. So I put a light just outside of it so it looks like the fire's lit up. It adds a little bit of ambiance or ambience to make this look like firelight. It has more aesthetic appeal than it would otherwise. Even the blue light here from the fish tanks, right there, that blue light adds a little more aesthetic appeal to my stream. If I really, really wanted to, when I record my video lessons for English at the Ready, I will add one more little key light right here. And will you notice it? Maybe not. But you see that? Gets rid of the shadow on my neck and brightens up my face quite a bit. It's actually just a little bit too bright, but it enhances the aesthetic appeal of my videos. We'll leave this on since we're talking about aesthetics. Not in my eyes, so it doesn't bother me. All right. Decorating focuses more on the visual and stylistic aspects of a space. So when you decorate a place, you're worried about the aesthetic appeal, the aesthetic elements, and focusing on the visual stylistic aspects. When you furnish a place, again, it's a verb. It involves placing furniture and functional items in that space. So you furnish the home with furniture. Furnish it with things you're going to use. You furnish it with furnishing. I'll put that noun in chat. Furnishing. This is another activity to furnish that takes the gerund form, an ing, to form a noun. Furnishing. I am furnishing. That's present progressive tense. We need furnishing in the home. or this home needs some new furnishing. Furnishing. Furnishing is about equipping a space with the necessary items for living or working. All right. So again, decorating, you're making the place more beautiful, increasing its aesthetic appeal. Furnishing is about equipping the space with the things you need to live in it. Furniture could be dishes, pots and pans, kitchen utensils, knives, forks, spoons, plates. These could be furnishings too, because you use them while living the home. DIY. DIY. Do it yourself. Whenever you hear about a DIY project, it's a do it self project. This is used as a verb, and it's interesting because we use and conjugate this acronym. An acronym is when you take the first letters of a longer sentence or a longer thought and you just say the letters instead of the whole word. Instead of saying 3 words, do it yourself, I say DIY. That's an acronym. Take the first letters of each word, the first letter of each word, and we make what's like a new word, an acronym. And we always put these in all capital letters, always. When you make, repair, or decorate things yourself, rather than paying someone else to do it, you are doing a DIY project. My father, my grandfather are notorious for taking on large DIY projects. Generally, they do have the skill to complete them. They're both very gifted when it comes to building things, repairing things, building cars, repairing cars, tearing out a wall in their bathroom. My grandfather did this. He tore out the wall. He didn't tear out the wall. He knocked a hole in the wall, then cut it to make a square to the outside. And he put a box fan, one of these little square-shaped fans. He put one of those in the wall, and they used that as their bathroom fan until he was able to finish the wall and put an actual fan. It was still a fan unit in the wall. But at first, seeing the box fan, it was like a Walmart box fan that he put in the wall too. It looked crazy. It was crazy. My dad, to fix my car once, I had water flowing underneath the floorboard from the air conditioner in the passenger side of the vehicle. My dad drills a hole through the bottom of my floorboard under the carpet so I can't see it, but he drills a hole so the water drains. Like, oh, I guess we don't need to fix the leak if the leak can drain out of the hole. Makes sense. I'm not sure that's the way I would have chosen to fix my car. Know what I'm saying? DIY. So here's some examples where DIY, this acronym, is used like a verb. And it's becoming more and more common to do this. You can find it in some dictionaries as a verb. He was a DIYer and was DIYing his home. So you just add an ER or an ING. He was a DIYer. So this makes it a noun. He's a do-it-yourselfer, a DIYer. And he was DIYing his home. He was, and we wouldn't say he was do-it-yourselfing. You might say that, but would sound a little weird to say it. We don't say it often that way. And was DIYing his home. She DIYs, verb, her, that should be her own clothing, and DIY'd her Halloween costume. Let's just go ahead and fix that on the fly. Why not? She DIYs her own clothing. And you can see this spell checker is catching. So what is this? This is Google Slides. It's catching this and saying I need to fix it, saying it's wrong, right? Switch it to DY, ING. But in the spell checker for, what was I using? What was it? It was Zoom. In our Zoom classes, it doesn't catch this. It allows it. So again, you're starting to see this appear in some dictionaries and in some spell checkers. Sometimes it will allow it, sometimes it won't. DIYs, DIYing. So this acronym acts like a regular verb. Then we have the words put up and put away. These are phrasal verbs. Put up something put away something. To put up means to place or attach something in a particular location, usually on a wall or high place. So when you put up something, think about it starting in one place lower than where it ends. So it begins on the ground. You pick it up and you put it up on the wall. For almost any painting you have in the home, you put up the painting. I tell my daughters to put up their toys. That means get them off the floor and put them on the shelves or in the box where they belong. Put up your toys, which sounds a lot like put away. Put away. Put away is to place something in its proper location after it has been used or after it is no longer needed. So you put something away where it belongs. Or if you put it in the closet behind a closed door, you've put that thing away. So when you put it up, you put it in a higher location than where it began. And when you put it away, you put it, let's say, out of sight, out of mind. You put it somewhere where you can't see it or somewhere where it belongs. Put up, put away. Again, if I yell, hey girls, put away your toys. Hey girls, put up your toys. They're going to understand it as basically being the same thing. But mastering phrasal verbs, mastering idioms, means that you understand the nuances and how to use them. Because if I say, put up the painting, it's better than saying, put away the painting. That doesn't really make sense. Put up your toys. Put them up where they belong. Put away your toys. Put them away in the closet where they belong. When we talk about the toys, both of these phrasal verbs can work, and they have a slightly different implication. Put up the picture, put away the picture. If you put away the picture, put it in a closet or in a place where it belongs, out of sight, out of mind. If you put up the picture or the painting, then you put it on the wall for everyone to see. So slightly different use of these phrasal verbs. All right, and for this week, how are we doing on time? Yeah, I'm double timing it today. Questions of the week. Are there any home improvements on your wish list? If so, what are they? A lot of people throughout our classes this week at English at the Ready said that they wanted to make some small changes to their rooms. They wanted to move some new furniture in and change their furnishings. Just in case you forgot the word furnishing, let's go back. Furnish. Placing furniture and functional items in a space. They wanted to change the functional items in their living rooms. One person wanted to change their bedroom. They said there was too much natural light coming through the window, and she had already started to fully remodel this room by covering that window and then knocking a hole in another wall to place a window on a different side of her room. That was the most involved DIY project people talked about this week. Like I said, most people, all they wanted to do was buy a new sofa and a new television, a new sound system. A few of the men, women do this too, don't get me wrong, but a few of the men wanted new sound systems for their home theater so they could listen to movies like they were in the movie theater. I would say running cables is what they were spending most of their time doing. Just like the studio here. All of these lights that are around, they all have to have power coming from somewhere. So remodeling this room and DIYing my own studio, I spent the most time running cables from each light to a power source, and then some of them to my PC so I can control them with my Stream Deck or another application. And I think the most interesting question for me this week was what traditions or customs are common for housewarming parties in your culture? Let me know if you have any housewarming party traditions or gifts that you might give someone when they move into a new home. Let me know in chat, or let me know in the comments when I post this video on YouTube. Let me know there too. I think these traditions are really fascinating parts of all the different cultures that my students and you watching from home come from. The one that stood out to me was a German tradition. And this is one that we have in the US. I feel like it's one that's important in many places in the world. Germans, my German students this said that they give each other salt. When someone moves to a new home, traditional gift is some salt. Because historically and traditionally, all homes needed salt to preserve meat, to preserve their food, right? Before we had refrigerators, people would put food in the cellar, and if it was meat or sometimes vegetables too, they would salt these to stop bacteria from growing and to make them last longer, right? Salt cured pork, salt cured beef, salt cured fish. Any type of meat could be preserved with salt when rubbed the right way. Kind of like something just exploded above me in the kitchen area. I think my wife hopefully is just moving a chair. That's a little bit disconcerting to hear that sound up there while I'm down here and I know the three girls are up there with her. All right. Like I said, please, again, do share your traditions if you have any. When someone moves into a new home, what do you give them? What's a traditional gift from your culture? Let's see what kind of answers we get. All right. That's the first roundup for this week. This week's class, or this week's series of classes, were about activities. Activities. While going through this lesson, think about activities and how activities are different from hobbies, or are hobbies and activities the same thing? Activities. The first words we have today for this one are volunteer versus voluntary. A volunteer is a noun and a verb. A person who volunteers is a volunteer. If you volunteer, verb, you are a volunteer, noun. A person who offers to do something, especially helping others, without being paid. That's a volunteer. Volunteers aren't paid to do the jobs they do. This is the opposite of something like slave labor. We talk about slave labor. That person does not volunteer and they're not paid. Volunteers, they don't get paid, but they want to do it. They choose to do it. And that's where this second word comes in, voluntary. Voluntary is an adjective. Voluntary is done, given, or acting of one's own free will choice. Free will without coercion or payment. So they're not being paid. They're not being forced to do it. However, I would take this out. Some people who do their jobs voluntarily are paid. What am I doing right now on Twitch? Am I paid to do this? No, I don't get paid to do this Twitch stream. This is me volunteering my time voluntarily by choice to deliver a free lesson and a weekly roundup from my English at the Ready classes throughout the week. So again, I'm volunteering my time in a voluntary way because it's my choice. So volunteer and voluntary, very similar. But when you volunteer, you do it for free. And when you do something voluntarily, or if it's voluntary, choose to do it. That's the key difference. All right. The next two words, join in versus attend. To join in is a phrasal verb, and it means to participate in an activity with others. Now, at first glance, these look to be the same thing. Join in and attend. When you join in, you participate in an activity with others. When you attend, which is a verb, it's to be present at an event, meeting, or activity. So one, join in, is to participate. To attend is to be present, be there. So the way I like to think about these two phrasal verbs and verb, I like to think about this as when I go to the theater, I go to a play, or I go to see a soccer game, right? Like I'm going to attend, no, I'm not attending, I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch a soccer game on TV in a little while. But if I attend the play or if I attend the game, I watch it. I'm there. I'm present at this. If I join in the play, I take part in the play. I'm acting on the stage. If I join in the game, I'm playing the game. This makes sense? Thank you for joining in for this lesson. Those of you who comment and those of you who answer questions later on the YouTube channel, you're joining in. That's what I'd like to see. More joining in. But I also appreciate you attending the lesson. That makes sense? If you're here, you're present, you're attending. If you're talking, if you're contributing, then you're joining in. Follow me? Join in, attend. All right, and now these words can be a bit of a headache because you might look at them and think, oh, those are easy. But these are some of the most challenging words I've come across in the English language in my past 14 years of teaching. Most of my students, when I say any one of these words, they ask me, okay, what about this word? Or what about that word? Because they're very easy to mistake. Let's start with the word we had in our lessons this week, unwind. Unwind is a verb. It means to relax after a period of work or stress. Now let me ask you, what is the past tense of unwind? Type it in chat if you know it. I'll give just a moment, but unwind. What is the past tense? Today I will unwind. Today I unwind. Today I am going to unwind. Past tense, yesterday I unwound. I unwound after a long day at work. Unwound. So the verb is to wind, to unwind. The past tense is wound, unwound. Follow me? This is confusing because you have another noun. This noun is the wind that blows through the trees. The wind. The verb again, to wind, past tense, wound, but there's a noun. Do you have any idea how to say this word when we talk about the noun? A what? A wound. A wound. Past tense of a verb is wound. The noun is wound. So you have to know if you're talking about a noun or a verb to say these correctly. The noun is the wind. There is no noun unwind. There's no unwind. Unwind. You have the wind as the noun, the verb to wind, to unwind, and then you have the past tense, wound, and the noun, a wound. You follow me? This is challenging. These words I've had so many questions about in the past 14 years. I remember in particular, one girl in China that I was teaching, she would practice saying these and say, wind, wind, wound, wind, and she would just keep repeating them over and over again. And I said, no, think about what they are. Unwind, to unwind, a verb. Wind, again, always the same. The pronunciation's the same. Wind. The wind. The nouns are where it gets confusing. The wind. And wound as your past tense. Unwound as your past tense. And a wound. A wound. All right, the questions of the week for this lesson. How important do you think it is to volunteer? Let's take this first question first, and I'll answer the second one probably also. But how important do you think it is to volunteer? Most students said they think it's very important to volunteer, and I'll give you my response. Volunteering. There is a lot you gain from volunteering. One, it makes you feel better because you're helping people. You volunteer to lend a hand. This is a good idiom. I'll put this in the chat. Lend a hand. You volunteer your time to lend a hand to help other people, and that makes you feel good about yourself. You know you're doing something good. Other people might see you and say, oh, that person's doing something really nice. When you volunteer, you also have a chance to learn some new skills. Usually, when we volunteer, we are volunteering doing something that's not our regular job. So we learn something new. When you're volunteering, you build a stronger network. You get to know more people in your town, city, location, place where you're volunteering. That network also strengthens your involvement in that community. Lets you get to know more people. It could lead to a new job. It could lead to more friends, or at least finding some people with common interests because you're volunteering for the same cause. Are there any projects you'd like to volunteer in for the future or in the future? Are there any projects you would like to volunteer for in the future? There we go. I don't know why that was a challenge. My favorite volunteer experience that I ever had was working at Wake Forest Baptist Medical when I was a volunteer. I was a teenager volunteering at the hospital for hours. It was like a full-time job, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We had 2 locations we'd go to, 2 days a week. Each location, we'd spend 2 days at one location, 2 days at the other location. It was like our stable job. And then 1 day a week, we had a rotation. On that rotation day, I got to see so many different things they do in the hospital. It was amazing. Best rotation I had was the surgical room. Got to watch an open heart surgery. I'll never forget it. I walk into the locker room to get ready to change into the scrubs so I can go and, I have to be sterile in a sterile environment. Scrubs and hands are clean, make sure covered with all the little foot coverings they use in the operating rooms. But I was standing there after changing. They gave me a bag of chips and said, hey, you should eat something because often people get a little bit nauseous, a little bit woozy. They feel a little bit lightheaded. Eating helps. So I open this bag of chips and I'm munching away on the chips. I hear crunch, scratch, crunch, pop, crack, crunch from behind the double doors that led into the operating room. And I said, what was that? That sound? Oh, that's the rib shredder. They were spreading the patient's ribs. That's a sound I will never forget. My little crunchy potato chips, put them away and said, okay, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and get the show on the road because, yeah, I lost my appetite. But when I walked in, the man's chest was open. I could see this person's heart beating there directly. They had stuffed or packed ice around the heart, slow it down, protect it. It's amazing, just absolutely amazing to see. It's a memory that I'll never forget. Volunteering is what allowed me that opportunity. Second question, have you ever experienced something you thought would be a walk in the park, but it turned out to be difficult? What was it? We had some really interesting answers in our classes this. Please, here on Twitch, let me know if you're watching now. Let me know if you've ever experienced something you thought would be a walk in the park, but it turned out to be difficult. Walk in the park means it's easy and it's fun. If you're watching on YouTube, leave your answer, leave your response in the comments. I'd love to hear your story and respond to it there. For me, living in China, my first year in China, I thought I would go and I was part of a program. I thought it would be relatively easy. I would learn some Chinese, eat some delicious food, learn about the culture, and then come home after a year enriched, right, with a richer understanding of China, the world, environment, and move on with a career or professional job. That is not what happened. After 3 months, well, after 1 month, I was sent from Beijing, where we were all trained to teach English, and I was sent from there to Suzhou. I was the only person in my program, 100 people from the United States, from England. I was the only one sent to Suzhou. Beijing is in the north. Suzhou is around a 8 to 12 hour train ride, depending on the train you take, towards the south, very close to Shanghai, kind of the middle It's the southern middle of the country, middle of the East Coast. I'm mincing words. It's the East Coast, sort of halfway down the country as you go from north to south. Something like that works better for locational detail. But again, I was the only person from my program there. I didn't meet another person from the US or from England for six first 3 months. This company didn't pay me. I was teaching in a kindergarten. They said they would send me to an adult training center. So they had me teaching kindergarten. Okay, all right. Big challenge. I ended up leaving this company that I worked for after about I actually stayed. I stayed the first 4 months. I stayed one semester of school and I said at Christmas time, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. You need to pay me. I had to fly to Beijing. I got on a plane in Nanjing, flew to Beijing. I had no clue what I was doing. But I went there, showed up in the office. Oh, Jacob, what are you doing here? I'm here to collect my payment. Paid. It's been 3 months. And I'm kind of running out of money here in China. I'm not calling my parents asking for money. I know this is what they told me to do. Call your mom and dad, ask for some help. I said, no, I'm working. I'm working full time teaching these kids. I expect to be paid for it. Eventually, after some argument, they paid me. I got the payment and I said, in December, I'm leaving you. I have another job. I found another job with an adult training center, like I expected to be teaching. And I told them I was leaving. You can't do that. We'll cancel your visa. Gave me business visa. Business visa ends in December. This company is going to send me to Hong Kong. I'm going to exchange my visa. You don't really exchange it. I'm going to go to Hong Kong, making a pilgrimage because almost everyone who's in China for longer than 3 months has to do this. Really common. Even today, it's pretty common too. But anyway, I went to Hong Kong. I had to go there, exit mainland China, change my visa, get a working visa, come back into China, and then begin regular work for this new company. This was way more difficult than I ever expected it to be. I thought I was going with a company or a group that would help me do all these things. No, no, no. I had to learn, research, read about it, figure out how to do it on my own. This was one of the most life changing experiences I've ever had. I learned a lot. I learned very much how to take care of myself. Sure, it was after college. You would think, you're an adult when you graduate from college. This experience, when I was 27 years old, this is what pushed me into life. I became much more assertive. I learned how to do things on my own. I learned my own capability from doing this. It's irreplaceable experience. That's all I've got to say. That's all I have to say tonight. I want to go and watch the World Cup. This has been a quick two episode, two lesson episode of my weekly roundup stream. Hope you enjoyed what you're seeing here. If you're watching on YouTube, please come check out Twitch. Follow here on Twitch, 50 followers. I can begin the path to affiliate. Not so much about becoming affiliate and getting paid anything from Twitch. It's about being able to access channel points and all the other fun things that affiliates. That's what I want here on Twitch more than anything. Go ahead, follow the YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, go to YouTube, check out Rice JD there, Bridge Gaming, and you're going to see a section on weekly roundups. Again, the YouTube is at BSO_Rice JD. Instagram, I don't use a lot for this right now. I intend to one day. I don't have time. You look at me now. Look at my hair. Look at the sweat on my face. I'm tired. My weeks are long already, but I do love doing this Sunday night. Love this little bit of outreach that I get just to meet some new random people online, on Twitch, have conversations, and the people that I know that these lessons help. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you for attending. Thank you for joining in. And please join up with the YouTube, subscribe there, and then follow here on Twitch. Follow button work. I feel like it doesn't. I'll have to recode that later. Anyway, if you're looking for regular lessons, English at the Ready, check us out, englishattheready.com, or you can go to Instagram and you'll see Michael Anton, my partner, a business partner for English at the Ready. He has a lot of really good English content on his social media. I'll have a little more of that eventually. For right now, this is what I have time to do, best I can with it. And like I said, I really and truly, and I truly mean this, I truly hope you enjoy voluntary lessons here on Twitch and on YouTube. Take care, you all. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Fingers crossed for another weekly roundup. I actually might see you tomorrow night here on Twitch. I have some students who've been asking me to read an excerpt of my favorite book, The Wind in the Willows. I have my outdoor porch area set up for a nice little relaxing evening reading stream. I think I'm going to do this tomorrow night. It looks like I'm going to have time. Cross your fingers that everything else cooperates. That's my children, allergies, and anything else that could go wrong. Take it easy, you all. Have a good evening. Have a great week, and I'll catch you next time.